Okay, today I'm going to show you a demonstration of how I would approach a landscape using soft pastels. There's a girl in this picture, a human being, and you see her from the back, and that's always a challenge, when you have a person in a landscape, and that's why I chose this particular one. And so let's just get on with it, and I'll tell you everything about it in the video. Here it comes.
Okay, here it is. And Girl by the Autumn Lake is what I called it. And probably could have a better title. Girl, Girl, what did I put a girl in? No, Girl by the Autumn Lake. It should be Girl by the Lake in Autumn or something. Anyway, I just noticed that the pastel dust was on my forehead in the intro thing. So I am a mess. I'm just a mess. Okay, so this is the point where I'm grabbing the pastels and choosing the pastels that I'm going to use in this picture. The reference photo was a screenshot from a video by the Action Kid. He was walking through a park in Massapequa on Long Island, which is very close to where I grew up, and I was very familiar with that. Not that lake necessarily, although it might be a lake I went to with my brother when we were younger. Anyway, I chose it mostly because of that, because I kind of knew the area. And there was a girl sitting there, and I thought, well, this is kind of a cool shot. So he does videos, and I just I did a screenshot. I either paused it or just took a photo of the TV screen. So the pastels are Rembrandt brand. Let me read what it says on the box. Rembrandt, the professional choice. Well, they're really good, and they're half sticks. They're not whole sticks. Which, yeah, soft pastels. All right, let's see what it says here. Artist quality soft pastels. Okay, it doesn't say half sticks anyway, but they are half sticks. Half sticks are probably better than whole sticks. Here's why. First of all, because there's so many colors, like in a kit like this, you're not going to use. There's going to be a lot of colors you probably never use. I don't know, and then the other reason is because the whole sticks have paper on them, and it's kind of a pain. So the half sticks are better. They're cheaper anyway, And then the other thing is that Rembrandt does. A lot of art stores will sell individual sticks. So if you run out of the one or two that you use a lot, maybe white or blue or red or black, some of those colors get used a lot, you can just go buy the one or two that you need. Also, you could get that one color that, even though you might have as many colors as you just saw in your kit, there still might be a color that you would like to have that's not in there, so you could do that at the art store. And then they also sell this powder now. It's not in stick form, and it's got a name, but I've never tried it, but I've seen it. It looks interesting. So okay, so I'm laying down the color of the sky first, the distant sky, and I will layer in. You'll see a couple of different colors. I'm using a light blue, and I'm using an off-white for the lower part of the sky, and I think I added a couple of pieces of darker blue. My hand is so big you can't see what I'm doing, but or what I'm using, but I just got a glimpse of it. That looks like the darker blue, and just to kind of give the essence of the impression of a sky. I can do pastels in layers. It's not always easy, or it's not always possible to do layers with pastels. But if you keep it light and you use paper that has some tooth to it, which is this paper does, then you can layer it, somewhat, not completely. And usually it's better to layer dark on top of light as opposed to light on top of dark, but you can do it either way. The paper, by the way, is Canson paper. It is made for pastel. It's the assorted color, 24 sheets in the pack. And the paper itself is 9 inches by 12 inches. And this pastel paper by Canson is called Mi Teintes. Now, I think I'm saying it wrong. I think it's a French word and not a Spanish word. So I'll spell it for you. M-I hyphen Teintes. So I say Mi Teintes, but that probably is wrong because I think it's, like I say, I think it's French. So I'm using the side of the pastel as opposed to the tip, with some exceptions. Later on I'll be using the tip, but mostly I'm just trying to grab color and place it into the picture. The background trees, I put a bed or a first layer of green or dark green, and then I layered on top of it some of the autumn colors of orange and yellow and browns and etc. This is a line that happens sometimes when you're looking at the opposite end of a lake or a river. So there's a little line that's kind of separates the land from the water. It's sometimes light color, sometimes it's dark color, sometimes it's a mixture of both. And so that's what I did right there. It may not be photographically accurate, but it does help create the illusion when you're looking at it as a painting. So when you're doing water and it's a lake, you usually have the reflection of whatever it is in the background. So you, in essence, will paint that background twice, once upside down in the reflection and once right side up. The reference photo I was using, the reflected images were very blurry, probably caused by air or wind disrupting the surface of the water, right? And just not giving you that complete perfect mirror effect. If it was perfectly still water, you would have that mirror effect. But that wasn't the case in this particular scenario. There's a girl in this picture. She's going to be sitting in the foreground. I debated about whether to keep her in the picture. She was in the reference photo. Wasn't sure. I wanted to put a girl, or a human, I should say, a person, because sometimes it takes away from the picture when you have a human in there. Sometimes it adds to it. So I just, I chose to do it mostly as just an exercise, just to use pastels in such a way. I did so many pastels years ago, and almost everything I did was portraits, and almost everything I did had faces and people in them, and the effort to create likenesses in human beings is intense. You really have to focus. You really have to correct mistakes as you go, because if you let a mistake stay, it's not going to look like the person that you are trying to create a portrait of. In this particular case, though, I did not worry about capturing the likeness of the girl. First of all, she's sitting with her back to the camera, and I wasn't really all that concerned about capturing her likeness even from the back, although I did want to use her as a model, so that I would get the hair sort of right and her body kind of right. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working on her, just sketching in the shapes of her head, her arm, and you'll see the back where she's wearing a green garment and blue jeans, and she's sitting on a stump or a rock. I'm not sure what she's sitting on. The photograph actually doesn't even show where she's sitting. It's cropped kind of at the bottom, so I moved her up in the painting and just kind of left it a mystery what she's sitting on. It's not really defined, but you'll see. So now you can see the back of her green shirt, and just adding in the different colors to create the impression that there's a young woman there, and she's wearing blue jeans, and she's looking at the lake, even though the lake isn't finished yet. So I chose to do the girl before I did the lake. I could have painted over the lake as in another layer. I just wasn't sure if that would work because the colors in the girl's the colors in the girl are light, and the colors in the water will be light. So I wasn't sure that would work. So I just decided to do the girl first, and then work the water around her. There's foreground leaves and trees and limbs also in this picture that will play a role in how she is seen and how she is perceived. So okay, so it's just a basic demonstration of how to use pastels, soft pastels. The biggest thing I could tell you, if you're interested in working in any medium, is to just do it and do it and do it and do it. Do it a lot. The results of the first things you do, you might not like, or you might love. But the interesting thing about whether you do or do not like your own work is that give it a year or two, and when you look at it again, maybe something you liked, all of a sudden you cringe and you say, oh my gosh, I don't like that. And it works the exact opposite too. There's maybe something you created that you thought was horrible, and you set it aside for a day, a week, a year, whatever, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, you say, you know what, that looks pretty good. I like that. So yeah, don't throw your stuff away. Keep it around for a little while, and you might like it later. Or somebody might buy it, and then you'll see it hanging up in their home, and then you'll say, oh my gosh, yes, that has happened to me. I've seen some of my work hanging up in people's rooms and in their homes. And sometimes I'm cringing. Sometimes I'm not too happy with what I did. Okay, so now here's the part where I'm just trying to put in some of that water, some of the blue from the water around her, as if behind her, or in front of her, actually, in this case. And so to do that, I have to use the edge of the pastel, because obviously the broad side wouldn't have worked in this scenario. Just working on it now, just kind of scrubbing in the colors and studying the reference photos so that I know where things go and approximately how saturated each color is, whether the blue is very light or very subdued or not. And it's just a matter of working it, correcting the mistakes, and trying to step back and look at it again and see what needs to be changed, if anything. So I think this whole video, yeah, I can see it now. It's 36 minutes long. So I think the time it took to actually paint the finished picture was only about a half hour, maybe a little bit more. So it's a sketch. It's not intended to be a finished piece of work. It's not intended to be a finished painting, but it's a sketch, and that's the whole purpose of a sketch, is to kind of work out the different challenges that are in a painting, so that when you get to the point where you actually are painting the finished painting, whether it's painting with pastel or painting with paint, you will have some experience with that particular picture, with the girl, with the lake, with the trees in the distance, with the trees and the limbs in the foreground, and there you go. So you can see she's kind of coming together. Hopefully you can tell what is what on her hair and her arm and her back of her shirt and her pants. The lake that she's at, I don't know what it's called, but it's a lake in the town of Massapequa on Long Island. I think Massapequa was one town over or two towns over from the town I grew up in, which was North Merrick, and I would go there now and then. I think it was about an 8-mile ride, like on my bicycle. So think about that. When you were a kid, 8 miles on a bicycle is really nothing. And that would be 16 round trip, if you think about that. It's kind of an amazing thing what we did when we were kids. but we didn't think of it at all. My brother Bob and I rode our bicycles here one time. He was 2.5 years older than me. We had purchased some fishing poles and some fishing bait and tackle, and I do mean bait. We bought it from the back of a comic book, and when it arrived, we were so happy because we didn't pay much for it, but so much stuff arrived in the mail, including a package of bait, actual minnows, and they were so smelly. Oh man, they stunk bad. And we took our bikes and we rode them down to this lake here, this very lake, I think, or one next to it or one near it. And I don't think we caught anything. If we did, we probably just threw it back, because neither one of us knew how to skin a fish. We didn't know how to do that, and we didn't want to do that. We were just having fun. Those were the days. Okay, I guess right now what I'm probably doing is I'm looking at what I've got, trying to figure out what I need to do to make it better. And one of the things is ripples. You put ripples in the water, and it looks more like water. That's the best way to say it. I don't think it was in the actual photo, but it was my way of it's kind of an illustration trick. Put ripples in water, put white lines, little white lines. So yeah, as I go along, I tweak the sky, and I tweak the line of trees in the background, and tweak the water. And right now it definitely looks like a landscape. Looks like a landscape with water, with a girl looking at it all. But in just a little bit, I'll be adding the trees and the grass and the shrubs that are in the foreground, and that'll take up part of the foreground area, breaking up the background area, which is a good thing. It's a little bit, it's nice the way it is, but it's more interesting, I think, when you break it up with vertical lines, whether they're telephone poles or trees or fences or people. Sometimes people become your vertical lines. So there you go. So you see a girl looking at the lake. Now I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, I'm just adding some of the darker areas here out onto the ground where she's sitting. Just to kind of give it some contour, some shape. There's a vertical line for you. There's a tree with a couple of different, a fork in the tree. Yeah. And this is autumn, so the tree, it was early autumn, so the tree wasn't completely bare. There were leaves on the tree, so you'll see I add that too. I don't draw any single leaf. I just put the essence of leaves, the shapes of the colors, and what you would see if you squinted your eyes and looked at the picture out of focus. It's a good technique, by the way, to look at things out of focus when you're painting, because that way you can see what you need to see instead of what you believe is there. All the little details. You don't have to worry about them unless you're intentionally trying to paint something or draw something so that it looks photographic. But as far as creating something that looks very artsy, I think it's a good idea to do some paintings as an impressionistic work, and not just an attempt to be realistic. So it's just a matter of working it all in, choosing the, it's not so much the color as much as it is the contrast. So, like a couple of times there was some green in the reference photo and it just wasn't working. So I went back to the darker colors, the darker brown or the black. In some cases, black wasn't working either, by the way. So yeah, I stuck with the burnt umber or the dark brown. And yeah, you can see. I mean, you already can see what it is, what's happening here. So, in an effort to have a good composition and not to replicate what was in the photo, I was selective about which vertical lines I wanted in here, which plants, which shrubs. I didn't want to copy the painting or the photo exactly, because it felt to me that it would be a more attractive piece of art if I kind of was selective about where I put the different vertical elements, the leaves, the twigs, the sticks, the trees, etc. Just keep working it in. Just keep adding little areas that look like leaves and the parts of the trees that haven't fallen off yet. It's not. It was still early in autumn, so a lot of the leaves were still on the trees. You see the light green leaves that I put into the tree in the sky. They just weren't dark enough. So I do go back later on and I add some dark onto them. Yeah, now we're heading to the right side of the picture to get some of the growth, the vegetation that's coming into the picture from the right side. And as I said, it's a very brief, very sketchy, and the intent is to create something that you will later use for a full painting or a full painting, whether it's pastel painting or regular painting. But it's a good thing to work it out anyway. It gives you a little bit of a head start. I know that a lot of the masters did that. Michelangelo, there's all kinds of notebooks that they found from his that showed him working on early paintings just in pencil form, and then later on made the pieces that became famous. So as you can see, I'm just adding color to create some contours in the ground and a little landing area for somebody who wanted to walk down to the water, and maybe the illusion of some rocks and some gravel and just some texture, some variation to the ground where the girl is sitting. That's about really the whole thing. I'm almost done with the painting. I see more on the tape coming up, but I'm not really sure what else is there. Looks like I saw something. That's what I do too. I'll look at something after I've more or less finished it and realize, oh, I need to fix that, I need to fix this. And so that's apparently what I'm doing. Few more touches and defining her hair a little bit more and defining some of the other things around her, and pretty much that's it. That's pretty much the whole painting. I did spray it with workable fixative, just a light coat, because as with pastels, you would touch it one time and it could smear and change the look completely if it's in the right place or the wrong place. So anyway, hope you enjoyed watching this. If you could do me a favor and click like on the video if you liked it, and if you want to subscribe, you'll get notifications whenever I put up a different video. I'll probably be doing more pastels, and I do a lot of digitals, so I'll be sharing some of them with you as well. I'm doing a little bit more acrylic lately also, so maybe I'll set up the tripod with the camera and show you how I do some of the acrylics. Okay, I guess that's it. I'm gonna roll it over now to the finished still painting, the girl by the lake in autumn or something like that.